Hey y'all, it's just Jennifer. Thank you for joining me tonight. I saw another author do something similar to this and I really enjoyed it because not only did I get to hear her thoughts on some books and what she was reading, but I got some really good recommendations of some other books to read, so I thought that this would be really fun to start. So this is my first one. Please excuse my phone thing. It's falling off my stand. There we go. So this is my first one, so it's going to be a little bit longer than some of the ones I'm going to do in the future because the past 2 weeks I have been doing a lot of reading and I want to be able to share those books with you. Give me 1 second. I don't know what is going on with this thing. Okay. Oh well, it'll work. Anyways, so I have been really into romantic suspense lately. I cannot get enough of it. And I was also gifted Kindle Unlimited, which was one of the best gifts I have ever received. So I started reading Dangerous Illusions by Irene Hannon. And I don't know if you've read anything by Irene Hannon, but she writes romantic suspense and contemporary romance, and I like both. But I read a book called Dangerous Illusions, and it was really good. And so I went to my library and put the next 2 books on hold. And then I did some digging because there was this character that was mentioned named Mac McGregor. And I began to suspect that maybe he was in a previous book. And he was. So then I had to go read that book, obviously. And it was also really good. And it was part of a series. And I managed to get my hands on the whole entire series. So I'm going to talk with you about that today. The first one that features Mac is called Buried Secrets. And it's also available on Kindle Unlimited. I actually had put this book on hold and forgot and read it on Kindle Unlimited and then got a notification that this came in. But it worked out because now I can show you what it actually looks like. But it was really good. This body is found in a construction site, and a police chief and a county homicide detective work together to find out who this person is and why they were murdered. And it was really good. Alright, well then, the second book is about Mac McGregor's younger brother, Lance. And Lance is an FBI agent, and he helps this woman named Christy, who has gotten a letter from her sister, but she thought her sister was dead. So this was really interesting. And if you're wondering about the ice skate, she used to be a figure skater. The heroine, she was a figure skater, and that actually plays into the mystery a little bit. And I won't tell you anything more because I don't want to give it away. But this was really, really good. Not as good as Buried Secrets. I don't know what it was, but I just liked Buried Secrets better. But this was still really good, and I highly recommend you read it. And then the last one is about Finn. And this one was a little bit different because he's not, like, in law enforcement. Like, his brother is a detective, his other brother is in the FBI, but Finn isn't in law enforcement. And so because this one's a little bit different, it takes a while to get to the actual mystery. But Irene Hannon manages to keep it from getting slow, because she does this really cool thing where she has a subplot character who gets into a little bit of trouble, and you know it's going to impact the heroine. And so you're sitting there trying to figure out what's going on. And then when bad things start happening, then you kind of have a clue about who's doing it, but the main characters don't. And so that was really good. I thought she did a really good job of developing the relationship between Finn and Dana. And she kept it from feeling slow because it had the potential of feeling slow, but she kept you interested and invested in their relationship. And so I really liked that. So that was one series that I managed to finish in the past couple weeks. I also grabbed some love-inspired books. I don't know if y'all have ever read love-inspired books. This is actually part of my introduction to Christian romance. The first Christian romance I ever read was Love Come Softly by Jeanette Oak. Very good series. This, however, was my introduction into contemporary romance, and this is what got me interested in writing Christian romance, because I realized that these books can actually speak to you in a way that some other books might not, because they make you think. They make you think about your relationship with God. Now, this is a love-inspired suspense. It's called Targeted for Murder by Elizabeth Goddard. I first read Elizabeth Goddard's books on Kindle Unlimited. The first one, I think it was called Always Look Twice. It's on Kindle Unlimited, and I had to read the other two. And they are traditionally published, so they are longer, and they are exceptional. But she also writes for love-inspired suspense. In this one, I'm going to show you a little bit what it looks like. Targeted for Murder. It was really good. It kept me on my toes. I had to keep reading to find out what happened. But it's about a woman, Hadley, whose father turns out to be a CIA agent, and he gets killed. And with his dying breath, he tells her to run because she's next. And so she runs into the wilderness, and she meets a wilderness expert, and he's trying to help keep her alive, and stuff keeps happening, and it really keeps you on your toes. And the other book I read is Hidden Legacy by Lynn Huggins, Blackburn. Now, you might recognize Lynn Huggins Blackburn as Lynn H. Blackburn. And she wrote the Deep Dive series. Okay, very good also. If you haven't read those, you should read those. They are exceptional. Especially Adam's my favorite. I'm Team Adam all the way. But this one was really good because the heroine, her name is Caroline, she's adopting her best friend's baby. Her best friend died in a car accident, and her best friend would never tell who the father was. But she left something saying that she wanted Caroline to raise her baby if something ever happened to her. Well, someone tries to kill Caroline and the baby. And her former best friend, who she had a crush on in her teenage years, comes back as a detective, and he's trying to keep her safe and figure out who is after her. And it was a really good twist. Like, I did not see the end coming. She did a really good job with that. Now, the thing about these love-inspired books is I don't think they're still selling some of them in stores after a while, because they publish like so many a month. But if you can't find them at your library, most of them I found are available on Kindle. And they're fairly cheap. They're like, some of them are $3.99, some of them are like $4.99, some of them are $5.99. And they're short. They're perfect to read in a day when you don't have a whole lot of time, but you still want a good story. And like I said, those suspense ones are going to keep you on your toes. Now, I mentioned that I have read some of Irene Hannon's contemporary romance, and I read Hope Harbor, which is the first book in her Hope Harbor series. It's about a small town on the Oregon coast, and it was really good, and I highly recommend that one as well. It is on Kindle Unlimited, and it's really good. So now I'm going to share with you some of the books that I have on my TBR pile. And I have like a literal TBR pile. Like I have like actual books sitting here that I checked out from the library. I also have some books sitting on my Kindle waiting to read. I'm not going to show you those because that's not going to translate well to Facebook Live. And then I also have some books that are available on Kindle Unlimited that I have up here listed that I need to read soon. So I'm going to show you these physical books. This one is Deception by Elizabeth Goddard as well. I'm really excited to read it. It sounds very interesting. Let's see here. And then Wilderness Peril by the same author. And then for contemporary romance, Just a Kiss by Denise Hunter. Now this is the last book of a series. And I became interested in reading this series after watching a Hallmark movie called, let's see, what was it called? I think it was called Christmas on My Mind. It was about a girl who gets amnesia, and the last thing she remembers is that she was fixing to marry someone. But she goes back to find him and realizes that they're not together anymore. And she's trying to figure out why. And it was based on The Goodbye Bride, which is the second of the series. The first one, I think it was called Falling Like Snowflakes. But they're all about brothers. And so this one is about the youngest brother, Riley. And he has a crush on his best friend, Paige. Paige was dating his brother, which was awkward. But they broke up because they weren't meant to be together. So now Riley has returned home from war. And he's injured, and Paige becomes his nurse. And then, you know, things are going to change. And I'm really excited to read it and figure out what happens. And then I have this one by Irene Hannon, Lethal Legacy. It's actually the last one in a series. And let me tell you what I did. I saw it at my local library. I knew the first one was on Kindle Unlimited. I knew I could put the second one on hold and get it through the interlibrary loan. So I just went ahead and checked this one out so that I could read them all in a row. But the great thing about Irene Hannon and some other authors who write series is that a lot of their books you can actually read out of order and they'll still make sense. You just enjoy them better when they're in order because then you get to revisit with some of the characters that you've already fallen in love with, get little tidbits of what's happening in their lives. Now, and sometimes you unintentionally get a spoiler if you read them out of order. That happened to me with this one series that I read, and it was just a small little tidbit. And I didn't realize it was a spoiler until I went to go read the book before it. And then I kind of had an idea what was going to happen because I had read the next book. But most of these you can read out of order and it's not going to hurt anything and you're still really going to enjoy them. I'm definitely going to be looking for some more contemporary romances to read. Friday on the blog, if you saw my review for The Love Note by Joanna Davison Politano. Y'all, that book was so good. And that's the second book that I've read by her. The first one I read by her was called A Rumored Fortune. And it was amazing. And so when I saw The Love Note on NetGalley for review, I knew I had to read it. But I'm definitely going to be reading some more of her books because she's exceptional. She writes in, I think it's Victorian England. Usually a strong female character, a strong female protagonist is the center of the book. And then sometimes there'll be a few side characters. There is usually a romance, but there's a lot of other stuff that goes on in the heroine's life that she has to figure out for herself. And I've really enjoyed them so far, so I'm definitely looking forward to reading some more of her books. Now, coming up on the blog, I have a review coming up. I think I scheduled it for this Friday. To Steal a Heart by Jen Turano. If you have never read Jen Turano, read this book. It's amazing. And really anything by Jen Turano is good. She writes really witty dialogue. She's hilarious. They get these outlandish situations that just leave you dying laughing. They're perfect to help you when you just need a pick-me-up one day. They're really good. So I highly suggest that. So that is all that I have to share with you today. And I hope that you will join me next week. Please let me know if you've read any of these books that I'm looking forward to, or if any of the ones I suggested sound good to you. And I would love to know what you're reading. I am always looking for books to add to my TBR pile, which is kind of crazy because it's already big as it is, but I'm just a glutton for books. You can never have too many books, am I right? But anyways, y'all have a safe night, and I will talk to you later.